folks, welcome to Metal Wani. With us today we have the king of prog rock, Stephen Wilson with us. How are you doing, Stephen?
I'm very good, thank you. Very good. Nice to speak to you.
Always an honor. Now, before we talk about the upcoming album, I really want to know how do I pronounce? Is it like 4.5? Like how is it meant to be pronounced?
Yeah, 4.5.
4.5.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah. Now it's always been, at the back of my mind that to ask about the emotional aspect of your songwriting in general. I mean, where does that inspiration come from when Stephen starts writing the songs for all his solo albums?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, there's no rules. It's very much a case of waiting for something to inspire you or inspire me, and that can be anything. I mean, in the case of Hand.Cannot.Erase, for example, which was my previous album, the inspiration came from a story that I read in the news and I saw in a documentary film about a young woman who passed away in London and her body wasn't discovered for many years. So that was not something I was necessarily looking for, but it's just something that really touched me very deeply. And I think you can never really predict, at least I can't ever really predict what is going to inspire me.
Right.
Now, in the case of 4.5, some of the songs are also connected to Hand.Cannot.Erase, so they come from a similar inspiration. And, generally, I mean, songs are inspired, without wishing to state the obvious, songs are inspired by life and experience. And mostly, I have to say, for me, the inspiration tends to be the things that I guess you would consider to be the more negative aspects of the world that we live in. I don't tend to write songs about things that make me happy. I tend to write songs about things that make me angry or melancholic or sad. And those are the things that I guess make me feel like I want to express or to exercise something through my songwriting.
And that's where it connects to your fans. I mean, right from The Insurgentist to Hands.Cannot.Erase and even 4.5, it's a journey where you've explored a lot, but still each and every song connects with your fan. I mean, I haven't come across any one person saying, hey, just this isn't Steven's stuff, but it's everything you write makes an impact on the lives of people. So I'm sure that's something which probably, since it's very personal to you, it connects to the fans easily.
Well, I think there's a lot of beauty to be found in a lot of poetry and beauty to be found in sadness and melancholia, and I think that's one of the things that you find time and time again with not just music but also with movies and literature.
Right.
Is that things that appear to be, quite depressing on the surface, sad subjects, things that deal with death, mortality, depression, are actually ironically very uplifting and very touching to other people. And I think one of the reasons for that is, of course, that we all have that kind of shared experience.
Right.
So I think as a listener of music, when you hear something that really reminds you that you are not alone in feeling sad, depressed, melancholic, angry, I think that actually can be a very cathartic and uplifting experience. I personally have always been more attracted to, melancholic music. Happy music doesn't really appeal to me, so I've naturally kind of gravitated towards making quite sad music, and I suppose yes, it has touched a lot of people for similar reasons. I guess they recognize themselves in the music.
Right, absolutely. And what's basically, why did you intend to basically release 4.5 exactly, almost very close to a year after Hands.Cannot.Erase? And as we know that there are some songs which didn't make it to Hands.Cannot.Erase. So was it something where you felt that the material is something which fans should listen to rather than keeping them in your, let's say, in your collection?
I think so, yeah. I mean, there's actually a more pragmatic reason too, which is that I'm going back out on tour now.
Right.
And it's almost a year, as you said, it's almost a year since Hand.Cannot.Erase came out. But I'm still performing that kind of repertoire. So going back out in January, I felt it would be nice to have some new music to play. and some new music to be kind of promoting. So that's the more pragmatic, practical reason. But I think, as you kind of also hinted at, that these are songs that I'm very proud of these songs, but for whatever reason, they didn't fit in to either of the last two records.
Right.
Now, the thing is, every time I make a record, as I'm sure people that know my music will be aware, I like to have this kind of grand kind of concept or theme which all the music kind of connects to. So it's almost like telling a story or writing a film script or something.
Right.
And sometimes there are songs or scenes or chapters that for whatever reason don't fit in, or they don't somehow carry the story forward, even though you're really proud of them. And these are examples of those. I'm really proud of these songs, but they just didn't fit in to Hand.Cannot.Erase or to The Raven That Refused to Sing. But I wanted them to have their chance to shine, if you like, and to have the spotlight. So this is like a perfect opportunity to give them their moment.
Right, absolutely. And you have re-recorded Don't Hate Me, which is one of the most famous Porcupine Tree songs, and every fan have heard that. Now on this re-recorded version, I heard there's Nina doing a duet with you. So why was this? What came across your mind to actually re-record it and also have Nina on vocals?
Okay, well, firstly, it's very nice to hear that you think it's one of the most famous songs, but I always felt the opposite, that it was always kind of one of the most overlooked of my songs. And I have to say that when we Porcupine Tree never played it that much live. I think we did it on one or two tours and that was it. And it was never the most popular song. Maybe it's become more popular recently, but it was never the most popular song at the time, but it was always one of the ones I was most proud of. And at the end of the day, of course, these are not Porcupine Tree songs. These are Stephen Wilson songs, and whether they were recorded first by Porcupine Tree or whatever, that's kind of, I wouldn't say it's irrelevant, but it's less significant to me than the fact that this is a song that I wrote and that I'm very proud of, and that perhaps hasn't had as much exposure, certainly in the live context, that I felt that it deserved. So it was one of the songs I picked for the recent tour we did in Europe. We did a tour in September, and I wanted to bring some older songs in that perhaps I felt hadn't had much of a chance to be played live. And the recording on the album is actually a live recording. It's taken from one of the shows that we played in September.
Right.
And I've redone the vocals. Now, to answer the second part of your question, why to have Ninette sing the chorus? Actually, the song was always intended, in a way, to be two different characters.
Okay.
One character singing the verse, and another character singing the chorus. It's almost like the stalker and the person who's being stalked are the two different characters. And of course, at the time, I sang both parts. But now there was an opportunity, finally, to kind of have these two different characters sung by the two different voices, which I think is I think it works really well.
Marvelously.
I think so.
It feels good when I listen to it, and actually even when I listen to my book of regrets, I kind of feel it's like a part B of Don't Hate Me. Maybe lyrically, these two songs subtly mirror each other in terms of tone, length, and also the structure where they begin and they end, and the middle portion where you're playing for all things experimental.
I think you're right. I think one of the things you're picking up on, certainly lyrically, is that I have revisited these same kind of subjects and themes, more than once over the years, and this idea of an individual feeling kind of isolated and lonely whilst living in the heart of a city is something that I think I've come back to. And perhaps Don't Hate Me is an early example of a song that in a way is almost like a precursor to the character in Hand.Cannot.Erase.
Right.
So I think, and my book of regrets, is also connected to Hand.Cannot.Erase. So I think that's something you're picking up on there. Musically, I can see what you mean. Yeah, I mean, I think again, I have a certain structure track that I like, you know. And I guess at the end of the day, I've only got so many ideas, and I have to sometimes revisit the same ones, you know.
True, true.